So the big question in this unit is, was the Weimar Republic doomed from the start? Was it inevitable that this new democracy would collapse because of inherent weaknesses? Or could it have succeeded? Well, let's have a look at the Weimar government in 1930. There's a picture of Hindenburg, who of course became president in 1925. That would actually in some ways indicate a weakness of the Weimar Republic, as Hindenburg himself was definitely a very old-fashioned authoritarian figure. And so the fact that he won an election for the presidency in 1925 shows that perhaps many Germans are suspicious of democracy in that they want their Weimar Republic to be run by this authoritarian, old-fashioned figure. Let's look at a few more things. In January of 1933, Hitler was ultimately appointed Chancellor of Germany, but arguably democracy was already over by 1930. This is because the last successful coalition split up over disagreements about what to do about the Great Depression. And after 1930, no coalition government was formed at all. Basically, votes for the communists on the far left had gone up, votes for the Nazis on the far right, and even those parties which might have formed a coalition, well, they didn't have enough members to get over 50%. So basically, no coalition government was possible, and as a consequence, Hindenburg basically ruled using emergency powers granted him by Article 48. It was ruled by decree by the president. Essentially, democracy was already over by 1930. The Reichstag had become irrelevant as it was being bypassed by Hindenburg using Article 48, and you could argue that German democracy was already dead. So, it's probably a good idea if you're a GCSE student to make notes under two columns. Here's some evidence that you could argue that the Republic was doomed from the start, that its failure was inevitable. Well, weaknesses we've already explored are that proportional representation did result in weak coalition governments. Article 48, the power vested in the president, did contain within it the power to destroy democracy by bypassing the democratically elected Reichstag. The Weimar Republic itself, unfortunately, this new democracy was born of defeat. It had very shallow roots in terms of being born out of the shame of the First World War. So many Germans, particularly right-wing Germans, viewed Weimar democracy as a product of defeat, and therefore they were not fans of Weimar democracy. In the 1918 revolution, the Kaiser, let's bring him back, the Kaiser was gone, but the army, the police and the judiciary, senior professors in universities, they remained. And many senior army members, senior judges, university professors, they were very old-fashioned, very authoritarian, very right-wing. They opposed democracy and the Republic. So right from the beginning, the Republic had very powerful enemies in the German elite. More evidence it was doomed from the start. Weimar politicians were blamed by many. Ludendorff did this, as did Hitler, as did other right-wing politicians like Alfred Hugenberg. They were blamed for stabbing the German army in the back. This is the Dolchstoss myth, the myth that Jews, communists and the Weimar Republic had stabbed the brave German army in the back, ensuring its defeat. Many conservatives as well also hated Weimar culture, the tolerance towards homosexuality, new women's fashions. The new art was viewed by many as degenerate art. So many of them hated what many today think as the tremendous artistic achievements in the Weimar Republic. Many conservatives at the time hated that Weimar culture. As I already said, the Armistice and the Treaty of Versailles of 1919, the government was associated with these, and these were both hated. The hyperinflation of 1922 to 1923 was a result of the mismanagement of the government. Again, so memories of this, the failures associated with the Weimar government are going to weaken the support for the Weimar government among the German people, as well as the fact that the economy was dependent on US loans negotiated under the Dawes Plan and extended under the Young Plan of 1929. So the economy in that sense was very fragile, very dependent on outside loans. So lots of evidence there. The Republic was doomed from the start, but also, arguably, it could have survived. The Republic had a lot of strength. The 1918 Constitution guaranteed civil rights and individual liberties. And in that way, you would imagine many Germans would support these extra freedoms and rights that they had achieved. Proportional representation doesn't always result in chaos and weak, ineffective governments. Many countries today use proportional representation, and coalitions today are ruling in many countries around the world. Ebert, the first president who was president from 1919 to 1925, he actually used Article 48 to protect German democracy. He used the emergency powers in the way they were meant to be used in the 1922 to 1923 crises. So if you had a president that had supported democracy, then Article 48 might not get misused. And in fact, it wasn't misused. Democracy itself wasn't perhaps as new as critics of the new government made out. In fact, under the old constitution, men over 25 could vote for members of parliament. So democracy wasn't as shocking and new as some might make out. More examples of that are that the Social Democrat Party had been established in 1875, the Centre Party in 1870. So many of these political parties involved in the Weimar period actually predated the introduction of the Weimar government and existed under the old Second Reich as well. Furthermore, the government did survive 13 years. It survived the crises years of 1918 to 1923. It survived the Kapp Putsch. It survived the Spartacist Revolt and the Munich Putsch. It survived its association with the armistice and with the Treaty of Versailles. Could Stresemann, perhaps, had he lived, had saved the Weimar Republic? It's very unfortunate for Germany that the very capable, pragmatic and effective German statesman died just before the Wall Street crash and the onset of the Great Depression. It's arguably the Great Depression and the subsequent problems that destroyed Germany, as it was hit especially severely by the Great Depression. Well, you need to make up your own mind. Facts you need to remember is by 1930, Weimar democracy was effectively already over as there was no functioning coalition, and Hindenburg was ruling by decree using basically Article 48. Not much evidence that it was doomed from the start, certain inherent weaknesses, but also a lot of evidence that perhaps it could have been saved, and a run of bad luck was very instrumental in ending the Weimar Republic. So I hope you made some decent notes there, and good luck with the quiz.